All right, so today we're going to chat about rotations. There's only actually 4 sections within this whole entire unit. So we're on section 3. When we get back from break, whatever that looks like, I don't know yet. But the very first day we get back from break, we'll be chatting about your quiz that you would have taken, that you're going to take this next Thursday. And then we've got one more section, and then we've got another test. So it's kind of going kind of quick, I feel like. We just took a test, I feel like, over parallel lines and stuff. And now we're going to take another test right before the end of the semester, which is good for you guys. More tests mean balancing out those grades. So what rotations are? Rotations are a turn. So if we were actually face-to-face, I would have you guys on a coordinate planes doing these rotations and turning the figures and all that fun stuff. But we're not, so we are having to just figure out these new coordinates. And like on your assignment today, you're going to see that there's graphs, but you don't need to worry about graphing. For rotations, they always turn counterclockwise. Why? I don't know. I feel like that just makes things more difficult but the good news is that you will never have to really worry about which direction, clockwise or counterclockwise. But just if you were to actually rotate something, it rotates counterclockwise. And if you get confused as to which one's counterclockwise versus clockwise, take a look at a clock and go the opposite way. But again, you don't have to worry about that. You're just going to have to worry about the degrees that it's rotating and how does that actually like kind of carry over to the coordinates. So there are 3 types of rotations that you are going to have to do today. And if I were you, if the only major thing that you need today are these little formulas. So I'm going to call this your rotations cheat sheet. And there is a formula sheet that will be shared out with you here so that you guys don't have to worry about, or you will not have to worry about like memorizing these formulas. They will be given to you. So don't worry about all that. Or you won't have to worry about making sure you have them all in one place. I'll have them all in one little place for you. So there's 3 different types of rotations that you're going to see today. The first one is a 90-degree rotation. And if you rotate 90 degrees, you take your X, Y coordinate. So you're again going to be given points, an X and a Y. And what you do, you take your X and your Y and they flip-flop spots. And whatever that Y value was, it changes signs. So that negative right there just means the opposite sign. Just like it did with reflections. When we did reflections, we had to change signs. So for 90 degrees, take your point, flip-flop spots, and change the sign on whatever that Y value was. There's your first one. Second one is 180. For 180, take your coordinate, your X, Y, and your X and your Y value, or your point, your X and your Y, they stay in the same spot, but they both change signs. So if they were positive, they become negative. If they were negative, they become positive. And then we also have 270. And if you rotate 270 degrees, you take your point, whatever point you're given, and your X and your Y, they flip-flop spots. And this time, your X value changes signs. So this right here is the most important thing for today. It's going to help you to be able to write those new coordinates. It's going to be able to help you to figure out what the new coordinates are depending on what type of rotation you have. So we're going to walk through, it's one big example. It's like one of each of these, but we're going to use the same coordinates every single time. So for our example, we have point A at 3, 5. We have point B at 1, 7. And we have point C at -2, 4. So these are the 3 points that we're going to use. Move this up. And we're going to use these little cheat sheets or these little formulas. I say formulas very lightly because it's not really a formula. And we're going to take and we're going to do one of each of these. So first thing we're going to do is a 90-degree rotation. And when we rotate 90 degrees, that means we take our points and we flip-flop the X and the Y. And whatever the Y value was, it changes signs. That's what our little formula says up here. So we are going to figure out what our A prime, B prime, and C prime are using that little formula. So A is 3, 5. So to figure out what A prime is, I flip-flop my X and my Y. So this becomes 5 and this becomes 3. And then whatever my Y value was, it was a positive 5, it changes signs. That's it. For B prime, this is X, this is Y. So flip-flop spots. So 7, 1. That 7 was positive, so now it becomes negative. And then for C prime, take my points, flip-flop spots, and I had 4, negative 2. And then that Y value was a positive 4, so it becomes a negative 4. It's really the hard part for today. That's a 90-degree rotation. Let's do 180. So for 180, our formula says negative X, negative Y. So our A, B, and C, our X and our Y values stay where they're at. They just all change signs. So 180, I think, is the easiest of them all. So we have A prime, B prime, and C prime using that formula. So A is 3, 5. So A prime would be negative 3, negative 5. B is 1, 7. So B prime would be negative 1, negative 7. C is negative 2, 4. So I have to change the sign. So this would be a positive 2, negative 4. Last one, we'll do a 270. I keep switching the colors up to keep it interesting because I know that this is so exciting. And then for 270, our little formula says that we flip-flop our X and our Y, but whatever X was, we change the sign. So we'd have a new A prime, B prime, C prime using 270. So we have 3, 5. So I flip-flop the spots and it becomes 5, 3. But whatever the X value was, I change the sign. So that becomes negative 3. 1, 7. The 7 comes first, and then I do have to change the value of the X. So it becomes negative 1. And then for C prime, flip-flop the spots. So 4 comes first. I have to change the sign here, so that does become a positive 2.